Okay, good evening and grand risings. This is Freedom Mill, life coach and author, personalfreedomcenter.com and viviangale.com. My five core pathways to personal freedom are spiritual, emotional, religious, physical, and financial freedom. And I believe that all men, regardless of their status in life, need a healthy balance. All men and women, um, regardless of their walk in life or their status, need a healthy balance in each one of these five core pathways in order to be happy, healthy, and to live a well-balanced life. So all of the things that we talk about from week to week, we'll touch on either one or two or more of these five core pathways. If you want more information on that, you can look at viviangale.com and also see thepersonalfreedomcenter.com. Last week we talked about, I guess, the 1099s in depth and not in depth enough, I guess. We talked about going over it again today. We talked about secure party creditor. And I just want to welcome you all here. Thank you for showing up on time. I see 646 number. Is that Robert?
Hi, no, this is Chanel. How are you?
Oh, you made it. Okay. Glad that you're here. Okay. So, were you saying something, Empress? Okay. So, what I want to start off saying is we're going to go over about a little bit about negotiable instruments so that you understand the foundation of what you are doing when you're using debt discharge, when you're using 1099s, and when you are using any other type of discharge. And let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to say that primarily when I started my website here, the Personal Freedom Center. Can you all see my screen well? Okay, so you can unmute yourself, and if you want to respond, I'll just assume that you do. Okay, so under From Bondage to Freedom, From Bondage to Freedom, and I'm pretty sure this was the first page I really made on this site. And I need to make that a little bigger. I don't know if you can see it well. Let me make it bigger. Okay, so I was focused on the three steps to freedom. And there is very much truth in these three steps being the primary core steps that can get you from out of the system and into being national or American national, Moorish American national, however you choose to correct your status. And number two, claim your Sedeka trust by getting an 87 EIN or a domestic EIN number, which will make you the executor over your account and to create a foreign trust. Okay, so and the reason why I say that is because even though we're focusing on debt discharge, there are a lot of different ways from that you have come across probably even now before joining me here to access your treasury account. And when you do things like 1099A, A for D, etc., you are accessing funds that are in your birth certificate trust fund. Okay, because that's the only money that the Treasury has to operate from. They don't have any real money, and that's why they use our birth certificate trust estates, which we are supposed to claim when we're 21. Okay, and so we'll look at that a little bit more as we go along. Hopefully today we'll get to look at this document here, which is the Commercial Security Agreement. Okay, so now I want you to stay focused on those three things and remind yourself that it's really this simple. But yet in each one of these steps, you know, there might be more than one step. Like correct your status, you fill out the form, you mail it in, you get it signed, whatever. and you keep a copy for yourself. I did a name change, so then I went to court and I had my name changed legally, and then I did the ID correction, which was through my driver's license, and signed it UCC 3-402B, and I wore my Moorish American headdress, which I showed you all, and I created a foreign trust. Okay, so the reason why you want to create a trust is so that when you get your birth certificate security agreement done and you have access to those funds, then you can operate out of that trust. You see, trust is equity, okay? And equity means, like, say if you have a house and you paid $100,000 for it, and you've been paying on it for maybe 3 or 4 years, and so now you've got at least $20,000 in equity, if I'm saying that correctly. So you have some value in that house. Okay, so it means interest built up. They've been paying down the loan and the interest, but you're getting some equity built up. So a trust holds all of your equity, or a trust is equity. Okay? And so when we learn how to operate from our trust, which we will get to relatively soon, probably either by the end of this month or the first week of next month, and start talking about how to transfer your assets into your trust. That means funds from the birth certificate trust and all of the assets that you can put inside of your trust are considered benefits, or they're considered assets, right? So that's where I'm leaning towards operating from. And again, why? It's because I'm trying to do everything as close to the system as possible, because a lot of the systems that we have were created by other people, and there's a numerous amount of different types of programs that are out there that are charging people a lot of money. You know, do it this way, do it that way, do it this way, and you're paying $100, $200, you know, however much you're paying, you know, thousands of dollars some people have paid, and it's really a lot simpler. And I was thinking about that yesterday, and I was thinking, yeah, what happened to that page? So I came back here and I reminded myself that it's just that simple. Okay, now you have to learn how to do those things. The easiest thing in all of this is probably step 1 and 2. And creating a foreign trust is not difficult because there's a template for that, and we also have the option of doing an express trust. I have an express trust, which is from the Moorish American trust documents, and I also have a revocable living trust, okay? And that trust is in the name of my foreign EIN, which is the Vivian Gale Foundation, or something like that, yeah. So all my business activities are housed underneath that trust, okay? But an express trust is an international trust, okay? So an international trust, once again, means that we're outside of the corporate United States, which is just a few 3 to 5 mile radius down there in Washington, D.C., in the Maryland area. And you're only actually a United States citizen if you live in that district, the District of Columbia, or if you work for the government. Technically and legally, that makes you a United States citizen. However, they have expanded the United States citizenship to include all of us, and because we didn't know, you know, so we've been lulled to sleep, and they've been taking our assets and used it to build this great corporation. The rest of the world followed along, and so now all the other nations and all of the other people are slaves to the system. Okay, so like I said, we want to learn how to use equity, and when we learn how to use the equity in our trust, we can avoid even using fiat currencies. So that is what we're going to be moving into eventually, but for now, we're going to continue working on some of these debt discharge measures and talk about the 1099A, which Empress Mariah asked for a demonstration, so we'll get to that. And and I don't know if there's anything else down here. Okay, so then there's some packages. So now I'm going to go back to our notes, and I'm going to click on this one. And this is a definition of negotiable instruments. This week, I had an opportunity to assist a client in a matter that they're having with their job as they're on disability. And while they're out of work, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation before, but the benefits that you may have used to pay $80 or $90 a month for, are they now charging this more over $1,000 a month? And her benefit amount is less than that, so she's having to use her savings. And so she's finally sent them a 1099 and a 1099A, and she sent me a letter that her job sent to her, and it literally said that they were in receipt of a document, right, from the Treasury Department in the state that she lives in, and that it was a demand, and that they were demanding this company to accept that payment for 1 year for her benefits. And in the next paragraph in that letter, they said that they were not going to honor it, and that was a situation between that employee and the IRS, okay? So I was asked to write a letter, and I did so for her for a small fee. And I wanted to get some UCC code in that letter. So, of course, the first thing that came to my mind was House Joint Resolution 192, and then I continued looking, and then I came across this one here. And this is also in alignment with bills of exchange that we've talked about as well. So in this right here, you can see it's under the Uniform Commercial Code right here. And this is Cornell Law School, so a lot of Moors and a lot of nationals use this website and other online law sites. I don't know if there's too many, but this one pops up first usually all the time. Okay, so this one says that under negotiable instruments, that's UCC 1-304, and it says that except as provided in subsection C and D, negotiable instrument means an unconditional promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money with or without interest or other charges described in the promise or order of it. Okay, so what I was trying to figure out before I actually wrote what I was writing down in the letter is that I wanted to be sure that a 1099 was a negotiable instrument, or was it just separate from a negotiable instrument? But reading this helped me to really get a good understanding. So it is payable to bearer or to order at the time that it is issued. Okay, so or first comes into possession of a holder. Okay, so when someone sends you a negotiable instrument, they're sending you a bill to pay, and that's called a negotiable instrument. And if you think about it, the word negotiable means that you can negotiate, right? You can negotiate that bill, but we didn't know that, so we just kept paying the bills. Okay, but now that we know that we can negotiate our bills, and now we can send them different types of payments, such as A for B, and any different types of promissory notes, or the 1099A as a substitute payment, then we can go ahead and negotiate that object. And I suppose they're negotiating too when they say, hey, we're not going to take this. But I was really surprised that they have the letter, and I had a copy of it. And I don't have permission to share it, so I won't. I was surprised when I saw that this company had even told her that they received this letter and that they were refusing to honor it. And so I was like, wow, there has to be some type of penalty. So I went and I, looked under the Uniform Commercial Code for penalties, and for sure there are some. But the thing is, I was thinking about my situation when I did my first A for V with my light company, and how they said, oh, we don't take this kind of payment, and how that might be the norm. We might have to fight for it, okay? So when I was studying last night, I came across a saying, and I was studying on trust law. It says, he who fails to assert his rights has none. Okay, so he who fails to assert his or her rights has none. Okay, so it's like there's gifts under over somewhere for you, but you don't know, or you never go and get them, right? And so because you never go and get them, those gifts are not known to you. You can't access them. You can't enjoy them. All right. You prove that you are the person every time you go to pick up your mail, or you go to the post office. I have a post office mailbox, and I show them my ID. Okay, so I'm asserting my rights to use that general mail and to pick up my mail. So we have to assert our rights in the same way when we're using these negotiable instruments, and be prepared and to know some, at least 1 or 2 points in case law, where we can put in our documents, and let them know that we know that we have rights and that we have remedies. Okay, so now, okay, so I'm going to continue reading this a little bit, and it says, again, on Part A, except as provided in subsections C and D, negotiable instrument means unconditional, right? There's no conditions attached to it. The unconditional promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money with or without interest or other charges described in the promise or order of it. Okay, number one, it is payable to the bearer to order at the time it is issued. Okay, so it is in the time it is issued or first comes into possession of the holder. Number two, it is payable on demand or at a defined or definite time. Okay, it's payable on demand at a definite time. All right. So on demand means right when they get it, or at a definite time. So a lot of the negotiable instrument laws that I come across say that they have 3 days. Now, if you choose to, you can give them 10 days or 30 days, or whatever, but legally it's 3 days that they have to honor a negotiable instrument. I give them more, maybe 10 days, because I know that a lot of these companies are understaffed, and so that's what I choose to do. So now, number two says it's payable on demand or at a definite time, and three, does not state any other undertaking or instruction by the person promising or ordering payment. Okay, so it does not state that there's any other thing that you have to do, right? Either the person that's promising to pay or the person that's ordering the payment to be made, to do any act in addition to the payment of money, but the promise or order may contain an undertaking or power to give, maintain, or protect collateral to secure payment. Again, the undertaking or power to give, maintain, or protect collateral to secure payment. An authorization or power to the holder to confess judgment or realize on or dispose of collateral. 3, a waiver of the benefit of any law intended for the advantage or protection of an obligor. Okay. Now the obligor is the one who is holding or the one that is the holder in due course. Okay, so someone that you're having a loan with, before they send you a bill or a negotiable instrument, they are the holder in due course. Once they send that document or that bill to you, that negotiable instrument to you, you become the holder in due course. Okay, so now that you're the holder in due course, then you are the person that's responsible. And that's why you have to respond to these instruments and not ignore them. And at the same time, there's a limit of time that you're not supposed to go past. And it would be nice if you can respond to it within 10 days. And I've taken longer than that. And I know that I've never had a problem with it, but I do get to it hopefully within that same, a week or 10 days, okay? But you want to try, and it's hard when you're just learning, so just stay on it, do one at a time, and make sure you really understand the process. And as you continue to do them, then it will get easier. All right, so the instrument means Part B, right over here. The instrument means a negotiable instrument. Okay, instrument means a negotiable instrument. So an instrument is the same thing as a negotiable instrument as you see up here. Okay, and an order that meets all of the requirements of subsection A except paragraph 1 and otherwise falls within the definition of a check in subsection is a negotiable instrument and a check. So even when you write out a bill of exchange, and we looked at them a week ago or so, and a couple of months ago, it looks just like a check. Okay, so a promise or order in Part D, other than a check, is not an instrument if at the time it is issued or first comes into possession of the holder. Again, the promise or order other than a check is not an instrument. Okay, if at the time it is issued or first comes into possession of a holder, it contains a conspicuous statement, however expressed to the effect that the promise or order is not negotiable or is not an instrument governed by this article. So it is not a negotiable instrument. It is not valid if it contains a conspicuous statement, and a conspicuous statement can be one like in the letter that was shared, and the Empress was being told that they were not going to obey the demand in order to accept the payment for a year. Okay, so Part E, an instrument is a note if it is a promise and is a draft. If it is an order, if an instrument falls within the definition of both note and the draft, a person entitled to enforce the instrument may treat it as either. Okay, now this is very important, and this is the reason why I'm bringing it up, because if you do a negotiable instrument, you know that you have a right and that you should, where is that right here? Enforce it, okay? So, and that's what we did by, creating a document. And I did another one for myself last week or a week before. I did an affidavit of mandamus, mandamus. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's a writ actually, and it is a writ that orders a company or a holder of an instrument or a loan that you have to do a certain thing. Okay, so there are times when you are going to have to stand up and fight back. And remember, like I said, he who fails, or he or she who fails to assert his rights has none. Now imagine that over the last 2 or 3 months you spent sending out 5 or 6 negotiable instruments, and the companies came back and said, hey, we don't accept this type of payment. And there's going to be, let's say if they send it to 10 people, I would guess that there would be at least 7 or 8 people who acquiesce and don't fight back and say, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and pay it. This is part of their game. They're not going to admit, that they're defrauding you and that they're defrauding, the government on some levels that they are. And so they're going to say, we don't accept this type of payment. And so you have to come back with knowledge that you have and put it on paper and letting them know that you will report them, and you will report them to the Attorney General, the CID. I always forget what that stands for, and or to the IRS. So CID is Criminal Investigations Division, and so that's where you report fraud. Now, another thing is when you mail out those documents, you want to make sure that you're mailing it to the right address. Some of them are specific to certain states or territories, so you want to check online and make sure that you're sending it to the right department in your area. Okay, so basically the part that I want to focus on here is here where it says that negotiable instruments, right, it includes a promise or an order. Okay, so when you're giving it, it's a promise to pay when it's a promissory note, and it's an order when it comes from a object or a tool like the writ of mandamus or an order from the IRS. Okay, so now if they choose not to pay it, then that's between them and the IRS or the Treasury Department, which they both work in tandem. All right, so they also told her that it was on her, this individual, that it was a personal problem between her and the IRS, and that was not true because she didn't have any issues with the IRS, okay, or with the Treasury Department, none whatsoever. And the letter was addressed to that company. So it was very easy. Look at the document that they send you first and find out what is obvious in that document that you can refute right away. I was able to refute that idea that they said that it was that she still had to pay the debt, and no, you don't. Because we know that a House Joint Resolution says that once you make a presentment or a payment and that it's refused, that you can consider the debt paid. Okay, so especially like if you do an A for B and they say that they don't accept it and then they don't send you back the A for B or coupon, which is the bill that you wrote and tore off and signed on the back, that's called a coupon. And if they don't send that to you and you pay them, then they're going to be using that to collect funds and the income or the assets, the cash, the fiat money that you send them, or a credit payment or whatever it is that you give them. So you'll be paying them twice, okay? So I was about to send a bill of exchange to the mortgage company, and I realized at that same time when I was about to do it that the 1099-A had been honored and that it has been approved and that it has been paid. And I was so glad because then I would have authorized the second payment. And then they were still sending us, payments. So hopefully next week I'll be able to transfer that document or our deed into our trust, and then it will be a done deal. Okay, so I already did the allodial title and some other documents back and forth with them. Created a default judgment, and went through the whole yard 9 in order to do everything that I needed to do because it's a big debt, and we don't want to. It was a big bill, a big negotiable instruments. $277,000 was still owed on the loan, and Yeah, and I want to make sure that whatever we do, that we don't lose our home. Okay, so that is the one part that I wanted to show you. And last week we were talking about secured party creditor, but I'm actually going to come back to that one. I want to go back to that abandoned and secured property document that we read or looked at last month or so. And it's important, and it will help you feel better before you decide to do something. If you can understand why you can do it, what makes it lawful and legal, and know that you're not going to go to jail for doing it. Because we hear of people going to jail for doing things, but not anything that has been done correctly using documents that come from the IRS. I've never known anyone to go to jail for using a 1099. I've never heard of anyone going to jail for doing an A for V, but I have heard of plenty of people who were incarcerated for making up their own processes, changing forms and whatever else it is that they did. Okay, so this is, I don't know if you guys remember this document, but this is I keep saying I'm going to get a new pad, but I know. Okay, the states declared an insurrection and the collection of the abandoned and secured, abandoned and captured property, which is what a 1099 is called. Okay. And you can see that if you look here under 1099A, and we're going to come back to this page a little later, okay? Now, over here, this it tells you the name of the form. It says the acquisition or abandonment of secured property. Okay, so the property is secured, and they're saying that it's abandoned. And the top word, let me start at the top, the acquisition of. Okay, an acquisition is when you receive something or take something or get something. Okay, something that was abandoned. Okay, and they can use these documents because our birth certificate is a trust, and they consider it abandoned by us, right? And so the language, even in the document that we're about to look at, you'll see how they were tricky, and how it all started. Actually, where is that document go? Okay, it's down here somewhere. I'll just open it again. Click it. All right, so here it is. All right, let me make this bigger. I know some of you might be on your cell phone. And you guys are awfully quiet, ladies. You're awfully quiet today. So, does anybody have any questions or comments so far? Okay, so again, this is page 1 of 58 pages. I would say the second half of the document is probably not relevant to our purposes that we're talking about today. So this is about abandoned and captured property. Okay, now the 1099s are considered abandoned and secured property. Okay, so now the Treasury Department circulars and regulations. Right now, there's something called the operating circulars. Okay, and this is encompassing probably some of the very first operating circulars that were created by the Treasury, and regulations, the executive and proclamations and license, and the War and Navy Department orders relating to those subjects. Okay. Washington, and this is an 1863 printing office. So, Treasury Department Circular, regulations concerning commercial intercourse, regulations concerning abandoned property. We're only going to look at the first few pages, and you'll get this again. You had it with another study that we did. Okay. So the Treasury Department Circular of July 1863 is an operation of a circular, or like a newsletter, if you will. This letter is addressed to Supervising Special Agent Mellon and sent to the other Supervising Special Agents in July last. Is republished with some modifications, adapting it to the revised regulations for the convenient information of all parties concerned. The Treasury Department, July 3rd, 1863. Sir, I have received your letter of the 5th of June from Memphis, and also those of previous days from Cincinnati relative to the collection of abandoned and captured property within the state heretofore declared to be an insurrection. Okay. Does anybody know what insurrection means? This word here. Okay, let's look it up. Okay, so insurrection is kind of what happened at the White House when Donald Trump was accused of sending all those people in there, and they climbed through the windows, as you can see some pictures over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so it's a violent uprising against an authority or a government. Okay, so in reply, I think it is important to direct your attention in the first place to the general distinctions under which all property subject to the disposition of national officers within the district under your supervision may be arranged. Okay, so what he's saying is that he wants him to pay special attention, right, to the general distinctions, or the things that point to all property subject to the disposition of national officers within the district under your supervision may be arranged. There may be said to be 4 classes of such property, viz. Abandoned. Number 1 is abandoned. Number 2, captured. 3, commercial. And 4, confiscable. In other words, confiscatable. Okay, so there may be 4 classes of abandoned property. Okay, so the first abandoned property is of 2 descriptions. 1, that which has been deserted by the owners, and that is where our birth certificates fall under abandoned property, because we are said that we have abandoned that trust when indeed we didn't know anything about it. And 2, that which has been voluntarily abandoned by them to the civil or military authorities of the United States. Such property is to be collected or received by the special agents of this department and sold under the authority of the Act of March 12, 1863, and the proceeds after deducting the expenses of transportation and sale and other expenses attending to the collection and disposition thereof are to be deposited in the Treasury subject to award by the Court of Claims. Okay, and when I was reading this part, it made me think of how when you do a 1099, when you want to acquire a property or buy something, that you want to make sure that you put in extra for or if you want to buy a car, for the delivery, for whatever it is that you need to acquire that thing. Okay, such property is, such property is to be collected or received by the special agents. Okay, and that's what all of the people who work for the Treasury are considered special agents. Or in that time, sometimes you see people saying, oh, that person is an agent, meaning that they are scrupulously looking at abandoned property, especially even the things that we present, to the Treasury, like when we're trying to get our access to our Sedicary trust. There are special agents assigned to look into that matter, that make sure that you are really that individual or person that is has a right to claim that abandoned property. Okay. All right. Now, 2 was that which has been voluntarily abandoned by them to the civil or military authority of the United States. Such property is to be collected or received by special agents of this department and sold under the authority of the Act of March 12, 1863, and the proceeds after deducting expenses of transportation and sale and other expenses attending to collection and disposition thereof are to be deposited in the Treasury. So now we see the chain or where the funds are going. They're going to the Treasury, subject to award by the Court of Claims. Okay, subject to award by the Court of Claims. And so that's the same way that they have access to our abandoned property or our benefits or our trust or our inheritance. Okay, so before this court, claimants to such property or the proceeds thereof have the right under the Act to prefer their claims at any time after the sale and before the expiration of 2 years from the close of the war. No guarantee can be given to owners of abandoned property in respect to the time when or the person to whom the proceeds will be paid. Okay, so this is where it was first established, and it was from war that there was abandoned property. I want to say abandoned and secured, and what's the other one that they had? But anyways, there's 4 different types of abandoned property. Okay, so captured property is number 2, which is what I was just looking for. And it was right in front of my face, which does happen sometimes even when I'm studying. Okay, so second is captured property. Captured property is understood to be that which has been seized or taken from hostile possession by the military or Navy forces of the United States and is to be turned over with certain exceptions named to the special agents of this department. Okay. So if you are in the military, there may be some property that you have had, even assets that they may have owed to you, and it will be turned over to the special agents of this department, and basically they're waiting for someone like your family member, if you're deceased, or yourself to come and claim that property. Right. Such property you will receive and direct to be sold and will cause the proceeds to be deposited into the Treasury. And so when they do this, this is another reason why we have a right to use the Treasury and the 1099s and other discharge measures, because as the years went by and they came out with the birth certificate under the United States went bankrupt. Okay, and they came out with the birth certificate fraud, and that was our birth. It was a certificate. It was our trust. It was a trust document, because when they forced all of the people to turn in their gold to the Treasury in 1930, around 1933, I believe it started around 1928, and put in motion, like similar how they're putting in motion now, the CBDC, etc. Okay, so such property will receive and direct to be sold and will cause the proceeds to be deposited in the Treasury, subject to the future award of the Court of Claims. Captured property which is held as lawful prize by the Navy is not to be turned over to the department agents, nor to be in any way controlled by them. Okay, third is commercial property. All right, and commercial property is that which has been or may be sold and purchased under the license of the President through permits granted by the officers of the Treasury Department. Okay, so to get a little more understanding, when the United States Corporation was allowed to stay on the United States of America grounds, when they came over supposedly with Christopher Columbus and discovered America. Okay, there were already natives here on the land. Okay, Native Americans say it was them, Moors say it was them. It doesn't matter because we're all from the same blood. Okay, so when they came here and they were allowed to set up a United States corporation, but when they were allowed to set up the United States corporation, it was only supposed to be for them and the Albions that had came and occupied our land. All right, so for some time they operated, on the land of America in peace and in harmony with the natives. Okay, so if you ever have a chance to watch this movie called Shaka Zulu, it gives a perfect definition of how, or explanation of how that happened and how they cheated the indigenous people out of their land and all of their assets and everything. I haven't watched that movie since I was a teenager, but it really got down here in my soul. I never forgot that movie. Okay, so it's called Shaka Zulu again. Fourth, confiscatable. Right. Third, commercial property is that which has been or may be sold and purchased under the license of the President through permits granted by the officers of the Treasury Department. Okay, so these same special agents, all right, are allowing some of these abandoned property that has not been claimed to be purchased and sold. Okay, which is why our credit is unlimited, because from the time our ancestors turned in their gold and gave up their land and everything else through trickery, right, and deceit, that they have only our trust, only our assets as natives of the American, real American soil under the Constitution. And that's how they have set up all of their organizations, all of their corporations, all of these so-called special programs like welfare and food stamps and anything that they try to get you to sign, I don't know, any senior programs, housing programs, every single thing that you apply for and you sign and you put your Social Security number on, they're actually going into your Could Trust account, and when you sign, you're giving them permission to take that money out, all right? So when you sign, you don't know how much they're going to take out. You might sign for $25,000. They might take 50, and give you 25, but then make you pay it back. And that's where the joke comes in, or the irony of it, is that they're taking it out of your trust, they're giving it to you, but then they're making you pay it back in its totality with interest. So in actuality, they're getting paid 3 times. All right, so you have to understand and read between the lines of what's happening now today with this abandoned property when you read this document. Fourth, confiscable property is that which belongs to a certain classes of persons as recited in the Confiscation Act of July 17, 1862, and is liable to seizure and condemnation by judicial proceedings in the manner prescribed by that act. You can take some time to look that up. Great care must be exercised in properly classifying all property, that the provisions of the law applicable to each class may be complied with. And it must be remembered that with the property included in the 4th class, unless found deserted and abandoned, the agents of the Treasury Department have no authority to interfere, okay? Unless it's found deserted or abandoned, the Treasury or the agents of the Treasury Department, they have no authority to interfere. The execution of the Confiscation Act is confided by its express terms to the President, by whom the Attorney General has been charged with the direction of all seizures and proceedings under it. Again, the Attorney General has been charged with the direction of all seizures and all proceedings underneath it, okay, under that Confiscation Act. It must be remembered also that all property coming from insurrection, districts into loyal states, or in reverse direction, or being transported within or to insurrectionary districts in contravention of law or departmental regulations is forfeited or forfeitable. Okay, so again, it must be remembered that all property that's coming from insurrectionary states, in other words, districts that didn't go along with the government and what they were doing, all right, so it must be remembered that all that property that's coming from, they're taking the property from them as well, whether they liked it or not. Okay, so where it was in controversy or in contravention of law or departmental regulations is forfeited and forfeitable. And that is the duty of the agents of the department as well as of other proper officers to enforce the forfeitures. Okay, so whether they wanted to surrender that property or not, they were forced to. And it was the duty of these officers, right, to make sure that they confiscated that property, which is not a very nice thing to do, right? So under the Act of July 1782, with or with prize property, I'm right here, captured by the Navy and subject to disposition under the direction of prize commissioners and courts, in respect to property embraced in the first class, namely abandoned property, it is to be observed that no agent is authorized to make any other assurances that the property voluntarily abandoned shall be faithfully disposed of under law. You know, and I was just thinking, you know, it's probably why the 1099s are so easy to do. You know, to me, it's kind of funny how you can just do a 1099. They don't ask you for any ID, any identification, or anything at all. You know, you can just put down your information on a form and send it in and get recompensated. And so they have all this abandoned property, and they know that they have to distribute it to someone. And so when we come forward and we ask for it or demand it in the right way, then we have outcomes that are favorable. All right. So I've never had a 1099 rejected. Okay, and that is just what we're talking about in this reading. Is we're just talking about the 1099s because that is what it is called. Once again, I remind you that form is called here under abandonment of secured property. Okay, so even though they're calling it secured property, I hope I didn't lose that paper. Okay, oh, there it is. All right, so okay, so no agent is authorized to make any other assurances that property voluntarily abandoned shall be faithfully disposed of under law so as to secure, as far as practicable in the existing condition of the country, the rights of the owners. And so they're trying to secure the rights of the owners, is what this is saying, if they ever come back and lay a claim to it in the Court of Claims. I ate something I shouldn't have, and now my throat is bothering me. It was good though, honestly. All right. So in the blue highlighted section, we'll continue. In respect to both descriptions of abandoned property, whether found deserted or voluntarily abandoned, the law authorizes the payment of such expenses as must necessarily be incurred in its collection or receipt of disposition. You will therefore pay all such expenses, including fees, taxes, freights, storage, charges, labor, and any other necessary expenses out of the general funding arising therefrom, being careful to avoid all useless or indiscrete expenditures, and to charge each particular lot or parcel with the specific or proportionate amounts of expense pertaining to it, and unless unavoidably prevented, to take vouchers, therefore, and to be filed with the account of sales in this department. So they are to take vouchers, and they're keeping records basically and creating accounts in a sales department. Where the property is liable to be lost or destroyed in consequences of its location being unknown to the special agents, or from another cause, and parties propose for compensation to collect and deliver into the hands of the agents of this department at points to be designated by them. You may contract, again, you may contract, again, you may contract for the collection and delivery. Okay, and there goes that word contract, okay. Therefore, on the best possible terms, not exceeding 25% of the proceeds of the property, which percentage must be full compensation for all expenses of whatever character incurred in collecting, preparing, and delivering such property at the points indicated. Now, I take that to mean, and I could be wrong, that 25% of whatever the whole total may come to, that it shouldn't exceed 25% in the ancillary costs, like delivery, all right, preparing it for delivery. So those would be extra cost or ancillary costs, preparing and delivering such property at the points indicated prior to any contract being entered into. Each party proposing must submit in writing a statement as near as may be given the kind and amount of property proposed to be collected in the location whence to be obtained, and all the facts and circumstances connected with it, particularly as to its ownership. Now let's take a minute and look at a 1099 form here. Let me see one that I already did. That'll probably give you, hopefully, I had one here, but I know you can't see it. Filing history. Okay, I don't have any that are half done. So let's look at one. Okay, so this is the page I showed you before where they approved. I had done a couple more in there. So let's click here. And this would be what they're talking about now when they're saying, now these 1099As you're going to do in your birth certificate or born name, all right? You're going to do it in your all caps as the lender, okay? So now when you open this, you'll see what I'm talking about, and we're going to do a sample, hopefully, if we are doing good on time. Okay, so when you download it, it opens it as a PDF, okay? So this is a sample of the last one I did on the new bill that Fusion Solar Energy, they closed our old account, and about 3 months later, we're supposedly owing $2,788.56, which is totally ridiculous, all right? And I am assuming that they put some, I don't know, startup cost in there, but it was only for 3 months at the time. So the lender's name would be my counselor up here on the left-hand side, and our mailing address, right? All capital letters. Now this is the estate. His birth certificate name estate, and that's because he he is the executor over his estate, as well as I am the executor over my estate, because we did that 10-minute document on Social Security IRS.gov, and put in the information in which we went through in class. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch that, or if you missed the class. Okay, so we are the lenders, because those are our assets. All right. Now, if you went to a traditional tax preparer and you had them do a 1099-A for you, they would put you as the borrower, and say if it was a bank loan, they would put the bank as the lender. But we know who we are, right? And as we stated in the beginning, he who fails, or he or she who fails to assert his rights has none. Okay, so when we know who we are and we know what our rights are, then we assert those rights, and guess what? Nothing happens, Okay, nobody I know of has ever gone to jail for filing a 1099. I did read something about people who were using the 1099s to buy property or something, and using a trustee, and was putting maybe like an extra $5,000 in there for the trustee. That is not what is supposed to happen. Okay, so this is an example of what they're talking about here. Let me get back. Okay. Right, okay, so now back to this document. So therefore, on the best possible terms, not exceeding 25% of the proceeds of the property. Oh, I wanted to show you something else in that document too. So here it is. It's still, yay. Okay, so the description of property is right down here in number 6. Okay, the date of the lender's acquisition, and this is the date of that bill. All right. So this is the description of the property. All right, or the balance or the outstanding value of that bill or that negotiable instrument. And because it's a negotiable instrument, I am negotiating it away using a 1099-A form, as you too can do. All right, and now for the description of the property, you're going to put credit used on whatever it is that you're using that credit on. Credit used for Puget Sound Energy. You put the account number, you put the estate EIN number here, and you put the account number of this bill right here in this section. Okay, now sometimes you might not have your estate EIN number, so then you would use your Social Security number. Okay. So now here, let's see, 22 is also the account number. It has to have 12 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so one bill that we had acquired didn't have 12 digits, and we had it for a few months, and I had to call, and they gave me the account number, and there were some other digits that were supposed to be in the prefix, and then I was able to go ahead. You have to have a 12 number digit for the account number here. Okay, so this is the description of property, which what we are reading about. All right, you send this in. I do it right over online. I never submitted any picture ID. Okay, I never submitted a birth certificate. They don't ask for that. I'm pretty sure when you set up your account, they might ask you for your driver's license number, but I can't even really remember that they do. But we'll look at that a little more depth shortly. Let me check the time. Okay, 6:14. All right, so now again, we're going back to this document, because whatever you do and that I teach you to do, I'm going to make sure that you understand the background of it, the legal and lawful validity of it, so that if you say that I said, then you're going to have to point back to what the law says, what the government says, and it's right here. Okay, I don't make up forms. Okay, so now on page 5, we're going to read to page 7. Okay, so prior to any contract being entered into, each party proposing must submit in writing a statement as near as may be given the kind and amount of property proposed to be collected. the location, whence to be obtained, and all the facts and circumstances connected with it, particularly as to its ownership. And any contract made in pursuance of this authority will be restricted. Any contract made in pursuance of this authority will be restricted either to the collection and delivery of particular lots at named localities, which is preferred. Okay, now remember, back then, when this first came out in 1863, they had actual physical abandoned property. You know, maybe someone went in the armed or the services and left a car behind, or brought something while they were there, or their watch or something like that. And so this is actually talking about general location and delivery for all of the abandoned property then. And it's limited districts, not greater in any case than one parish or count or country. Not more than one district to be assigned to one contractor. Okay, so you can't try and contract in two different districts. Okay, if you lived in Connecticut, but you live here now, you know, you want to do from Washington or from your district, well, where you are now. Okay, before the payment to any contractor for services and fulfillment of or any contracts made in pursuance of this authority, a bond, okay, again, before payment to any contractor for services and fulfillment of any contracts made in pursuant of this authority, a bond equal to the amount stipulated to be paid must be given by him, indemnifying the United States against all claims to the property delivered on account of damages by trespass or other occasioned by the act or connivance of the contractor, and against all claims that may arise on account of the expenses incurred in the collection, preparation, and transportation of said property to the point designated in such contract. Okay, let's see. All right, so I think we're going to go to page 7. Let me see. All right, so this is a good place to stop at page 7. So I'll just kind of breeze through this. Did I read that? I don't know. I think I read right here. All right, should cases arise justifying, in your opinion, the allowance of a larger percentage of that? Okay. If property of a perishable nature is found abandoned, and its immediate sale is required by the interest of all concerned, it may be disposed of as provided for by regulations. You will aim to mitigate as far as possible, and will in no cause do anything avoidable to augment the claimants of war. So in that time, when they're finding abandoned property, even if it's a car or something that is demolished, and they find a title in there, well, they know the person's name, who it belonged to, and so they can attribute that abandoned property to that person's name, even if the person is deceased or they can't find that person. It will still be logged or recorded. Okay, so page 7. Boy, I went far. This is good stuff. Okay, right here. Okay. Okay, you may contact them for delivery. I read that part. Okay. Okay, should a case arise justifying, in your opinion, the allowance of a larger percentage than that hereunto authorized, you will refer such cases to this department. Okay, so accompanied by a statement of facts and circumstances connected therewith. All right, together with such views and opinion of your own as you may think proper to submit for my consideration. If property of a perishable nature is found abandoned and its immediate sale is required by the interest of all concerned, it may be disposed of as provided for by regulations. You will aim to mitigate as far as possible and will in no case do anything avoidable to augment the calamities of war. Okay, and yeah. In relation to captured property, you will observe the same directions as far as they may be applicable. As to its receipt and subsequent disposition, as are prescribed in relation to abandoned property, remember that no release must be granted to persons claiming ownership of property which has come to possession of the agents of the department as abandoned, captured, or forfeited, nor must any permits be granted to individuals to remove such property, nor must personal favors in any case be extended to one individual or party rather than to another, nor must any liability be assumed or contracts made on the part of the United States not clearly warranted by law and the Department of Regulations made in pursuance of law. In case of furniture or other movable property of like character is abandoned or captured, you will cause it to be retained and left on the premises where it is found. And whenever it can be done with safely. It makes me think of sometimes you see movies and they have these old houses that's just been sitting there for years, and they open the door and it's all dusty and the furniture and everything is still there. Well, that is a property that's been abandoned. Okay, so they're saying in such cases, you will cause it to be retained and left on the premises wherever it's found. Okay, so and until it can be dealt with safely, right? Otherwise, if practical and not attended with too great cost, you will have it safely stored and properly marked and numbered, and will report the facts to this department and await further directions. Your principal embarrassments will doubtless arise from questions related to property of third class or commercial property. The general purpose under the acts charging me with the regulation of the restricted commercial intercourse permitted by the President, I have kept steadily in view. I have already been sufficiently explained in general regulations and in letters. Okay. They may be brief, stated thus, to allow within districts and insurrectionary states when the authority of the government is so completely reestablished in your judgment, sanctioned by that of the commanding general, as to warrant it, to between such districts and loyal states, the freest commercial intercourse compatible with prevention of supplies to persons with rebel lines. So, in other words, they're trying to keep states that were in insurrection or people that were against the government from acquiescing or coming to claim property. I think that's what you're saying. It makes sense to me. To allow no intercourse at all beyond the national and within the rebel lines of military occupation. Across these lines, there can be no intercourse except that of a character exclusively military, unless it was with a military personnel. Okay. Oh, we're on page 8, so I guess I've done my job. Okay, tired of reading. Okay, so this is something that you can continue to read, but as it goes on, I found that it was more or less talking about events that are actually specific to that time. But in this, if you want to continue to read it, and it's talking about trade and aid in states declared an insurrection. That might be interesting. Maybe I'll go read that again later. If I find it useful, then I'll let you know. Okay, so we did that. All right, so now we're talking about abandoned property here, the collection of abandoned property, right? And commercial intercourse, states declared insurrection, abandoned and captured property. So that was a property that was abandoned, and then it was captured and either destroyed or sold or kept by the Treasury by special agents. All right, so we can close that. Now I want to take you to, let's see, another item on the secured party creditor. Again, when it went from abandoned and captured property to abandoned and secured property, it kind of makes you wonder where and how that transaction or transition happened, right? So again, we read last week that there is no documentation needed, actually, right, to become a secured party creditor because we are already that. But we just don't know it. But when we know it, we assert our rights because he or she who fails to assert his rights has none, okay? Now, they know that you, Janelle, you, Mariah, you, Empress Cynthia, and Freedom have rights, right? But if you don't know it, you're not going to gain access to those rights, all right? So in the Uniform Commercial Code, right here, subsection, you see those two little S's, and that's how you read this, subsection 8-112. And you want to look under here, and you'll be looking under here a lot as you do your processes in the future. So you'll find things to substantiate or not what it is that you want to do or what someone is telling you that you can do. I'm going to make this font a little bigger, so I'm going to read this section here. Now, this is talking about a creditor's legal process. That's very interesting. All right, let me make it a little bigger. I love this screen. All right, now, you know, I got this big screen because I thought I wouldn't have to wear my glasses. It doesn't work that way. Oh, can't see. Okay. Okay, so Uniform Commercial Code, subsection 8-112. Creditor's legal process. Who's the creditor? Huh? Is M&T Bank the creditor? Is your job the creditor? Is the bank that you bank with the creditor? Is your loan company the creditor and you the debtor? No, that was the old way. That's how we were taught to believe, okay? But today we know that we are the creditors. So the creditor's legal process. A, the interest of a debtor in a certified security may be reached by a creditor only by actual seizure of the security certificate by the officer making the attachment or levy, except as otherwise provided in subsection D. However, a certificate or a certificated security for which the certificate has been surrendered to the issuer may be reached by a creditor. Does someone have a question? Okay. May be reached by a creditor by legal process upon the issuer. Okay, so again, it can be reached or secured, all right? And this is why we do security agreements, right? This is why we do UCC1 liens, right? That's because we're creating a security, I'm trying to think of another word. We're creating a secured process where we have the first lien or interest over that property which they are holding, which is ours. So we become the secured party creditor, and we become the secured party creditor instead of the debtor, because until you get it, until you secure your property, you're a debtor, right? You're the one who's receiving all the debt, right? So until you put a lien on your birth certificate, until you become the executor over your your straw man or your birth certificate trust, you're a debtor. Once you do the executorship or get an EIN number, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can do a copyright form, in which it's kind of funny because in the straw man, in that security agreement, which we'll look at in a minute, is given the real man or the real person, woman, the right to handle all of their affairs. Okay. So the interest of a debtor in a certificate of security may be reached by a creditor only by actual seizure of the security certificate. So you have to secure by seizure, you have to take it by the officer making the attachment or levy. Okay, and a levy usually follows a lien. Okay, so except as otherwise provided in subsection D. Right, now there's a D right there, but there's nothing after it, so that's interesting. Oh, here it is down here. Okay, so the interest of a debtor in an uncertificated security may be reached by a creditor only by legal process upon the issuer at its chief executive office in the United States, except as otherwise provided in subsection D. Okay, in the interest of a debtor, a security entitlement may be reached. And I'm going to pause for a minute because my mind is leading back to the liens that I've done. And I wish Empress Sonia was on the call tonight because she's done more liens than anybody that I know personally. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, but she has something to do. Okay, so lien, for me, doing the liens, they leave you alone. They really do. You know, like with Puget Sound Energy, they didn't leave us alone until I did the lien, all right? And now I read from, what is his name? It was a document by Gene, what's his name? He's an accountant, Gene Keaton, okay, that whenever there's a debt out in your name that you have to supply a credit for it. Okay, now, but what this is saying, the interest of a debtor in uncertificated security, okay, so there's no certificate, there's no ownership, right, or a certificate of authority or a bond placed on that property, whatever it is, may be reached by a creditor only by a legal process upon the issuer, right, at its chief executive office in the United States. Okay, so when you do a UCC-1 lien on all of your assets and all of your property, you're going to send a copy of that to everyone that you have an account with, every place that you've ever signed, even if it's a driver's license, a marriage license, anything that you have out there in the commercial world in your name using your social security number and your signature. Okay, so they have a security interest in you, and they're drawing funds from you and from your trust. Okay, so your certificate or born or birth certificate trust. And so you have to do it in a legal way, in a legal process upon the issuer. B, the interest of the debtor in an uncertificated security may be reached by a creditor only by a legal process upon the issuer at its chief executive office. And so you always want to send all of your documents, whether it be a 1099-A or lien or anything else, you want to send it to the chief financial officer. Some people send it to the CEO. I believe the chief financial officer and the CEO is appropriate to send it to, but the CFO is the chief financial officer. So he's the one that's going to know how to handle those instruments that we are sending. Okay, so the interest of the debtor in Part D is a certificated security for which the certificate is in the possession of a secured party of an uncertified security. So the interest of a debtor, now before you, declare your nationality, become the executor over your estate, you're the debtor. So it's talking about you in Part D if you haven't declared your nationality, right? So I mean, if you haven't done your gotten your executorship, and it is appropriate also to say declared your nationality or corrected your status, all right? Because if you don't do that, then you're still a debtor, and debtors cannot discharge debt. Okay, so the interest of a debtor in a certificated security, for which the certificate is in the possession of a secured party. Now, the other person who's holding it is the secured party because they're holding that instrument, right? Or in an uncertificated security registered in the name of a secured party. Okay, so it could be uncertificated. It cannot have a certificate attached to it. It cannot have a bond attached to it. It cannot have any ownership attached to it, and still be a security, but it's registered in the name of a secured party, or a security entitlement maintained in the name of a secured party. May be reached by a creditor. Okay, when you become a creditor, it may be reached by a creditor by legal process upon the secured party. Okay. So a creditor whose debtor, a creditor whose debtor is the owner of a certificated security, uncertificated security, or security entitlement, is entitled to aid from a court of competent jurisdiction by injunction or otherwise in reaching the certificated security, uncertified security, or security entitlement, or in satisfying the claims by means allowed at law in equity in regard to the property that cannot be readily reached by other legal processes. All right? So that's a lot of words. What does it mean? Okay, so it's saying that a person that's holding something that belongs to you is acting as a secure party and basically wants some type of compensation to give it before they give it back to you. You know? Okay, so, and it says that in satisfying the claim by means allowed at law or in equity in regard to the property that cannot be readily reached by other legal processes. So if there is some type of dispute, okay, but at first what you want to do is put a claim on it. Because any property, any debt discharge that we're doing, you're going to send it to the Treasury first. And then it's suggested that you wait 3 to 5 days, and then you send it to the same copy to the company. Okay, so when you come over here and you do a 1099A, over here, how much time do we have? Good. Okay, so we've got about 20 minutes. Okay, so when you go make an account on tax1099.com, you can do your 1099s here. Now, I also suggest that you order forms from the IRS, and you can do that by irs.gov/forms and order as many as you want. I don't know. I think they put a limit on people who are getting carried away, but you can have forms sent to you. Order forms and publications here. All right, and so it's just online ordering for information returns and employee returns, forms and publication by U.S. mail, order your tax forms. Actually, I'm going to leave this open to make sure I do. So the reason why you want to have some paper copies is because on these documents on this program here, it only allows you to do for the year prior. Okay, so when you come on this, you want to go under your dashboard. Okay, first of all, there's the dashboard, right? And when you first come here, it's going to be blank. You're not going to see anything here until you put stuff there. So you're going to create an account, and then you're going to choose what form that you want to do. So you always want to use the left panel to go to where you want to go. You want to do a new form. If you've already done a form and you want to finish it or make a correction, you hit edit and then submit. And then there's IRS rejected forms. I haven't had any rejected. Now you got a green dot right here, right? And it means that the IRS accepted it. Okay. So then I got one. I think that's one I just showed you from 726. It was IRS accepted. Okay. Now, if it was not submitted, and this happened to me before, I thought I submitted one. It was like 3 weeks went by, and I realized that I hadn't submitted it. So I went back, I looked, and I saw the blue dot. So you want to pay attention down here. Okay, if you want to correct a form, you can do a corrected form. But let's look at the new form, 1099s. Now, you want to only can do for the year before. So say if you wanted to pay a bill, and it was your Comcast bill, and your Comcast bill is $99 a month. Okay, so you can go back to 2022 into a 1099A, if I can find it, and you can add up. You can go into Comcast or some of your bill companies and look at your billing history, and you get for a whole past year, add up those amounts, and you do this 1099 for all the amount that you paid last year. Okay, so right here, you're always going to be the lender, right?
Empress, I have a question.
Yeah.
You know how you read on that part in the book, it says to add 25%?
To add what?
To add the 25%?
Yes.
Remember the part where you read and it said 25%?
Not to exceed 25%.
Should we add the 25% to that annual fee?
If it's necessary, if you're going to, you know how we were talking about if you wanted to buy something, you know, and there are going to be other costs incurred, it couldn't hurt, you know. Now, if you go back and you want to do a whole year of $99, that's about $1,200, right? Now, if you want to put the interest there, you would take that 25% of the $1,200 and put that in the whole total amount here. Okay.
Since I calculated my city bill, and I added the 25% just in case, you know, and I did the entire amount for the previous year for 22.
Charge for you having to do the work, you know, because it's talking about, you know, bringing things from point A to point B, okay? And we have to pay to submit these forms. If you're not paying to submit it here, which is only $1.90, you know, for each one that you submit, and or if you want to, you can have them submit it for you, but then it's going to be up to $5. But if you submit it online, like, then you need to do a 1096, and then you want to do a 1040V too. So it's not just a 1099, but let's just be clear with the 1099A first. Get that done.
Yeah.
You don't need the 1096 because it's not, for some reason, I don't remember, you don't need the 1096 if you do it online. Also know that you can go back 3 years. So you can go back 3 years. You can go back 2022, 2021, into 2020. And now when you do that, you have to select the year, and you can't do it from here. You have to go back to the form, right? And you get a new form. And then you'll go down here to 2021. See how it only goes back 3 years?
Yes.
So you can go back in your account, or if, like our water bill and trash bill, it's the same every month. So even if they don't have that history back that far, you can pretty much just guesstimate the amount and do it.
Well, that goes for other stuff. Like for me, when I filed taxes for other people, I mean, the rule is only 3 years to get a refund back. After 3 years, you forfeit your refund, right? Maybe that's why they have it like that.
I don't see even the 1099 down here for here. So in this case, you would use the paper one, you know.
It's up on top. It's up on top.
Yeah, but that's 2023.
No, that's actually 2020.
Where?
You clicked on 2020, and then it opened that whole entire green part. Click on 2020.
Okay.
And then click on the 1099A.
Right here?
Yeah.
No, this says.
And then click on that down arrow?
It's not letting me.
It's not letting you?
No. So if I don't see it, then I would do a paper copy. You know. I like some of the older 1099s. They had like 202 and then a line so you could fill in the year, but they don't do
Yeah,
that
I
anymore.
ordered some and they came in like that.
Oh, really? When did you order them?
I ordered them 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and they
So
came in that way.
on the call, you want to order the 1099As from the IRS. They're free. They'll even pay
Yeah.
for shipping. So you go back on the website under forms and publications, and okay, 20 each for forms. Wow, man, they really got in tight. Whew. Last time I ordered like a 50 of each, and I know my friends they had to like hundreds and hundreds. That's why they shut down, when the 1099 started getting real popular. So now you might want to do it now. You want to order 1099As? You want to order 1096s because if you do it by mail, you have to do a 1096, and then you have to do the 1040V, and then you want to download the 1090 OID. Now, again, the 1090 OID is supposed to be done by the other party or the borrower. They seldom do it, and so some people do it and send it to them, and or send them a letter letting them know that that's their part to do, which would be my suggestion. Okay, so in the 1040 voucher, I don't know, let me go back. Oh, I'm over here. If you read what these forms are for, I don't know if you find that in here, but on the IRS, you can go under forms and publications and also get so if you want to look right here, right, so form 1040, 1040B, whatever, then you can look at the directions and read them like Empress Mariah does. Very good at that. Me, not so much. I might read them once, and if I have a question, I'll go back and read it. But it really is good to go back and to read the directions, even though they're not going to be necessarily the way we use them. But you have to remember that it's backwards here, and that you are the lender and they are the borrower. Okay, so you order tax forms, you just click here and enter your search item. Can you get more than 20 at a time because you're a tax preparer?
I only did 20. I didn't try to do more, but you can always go back and order more. I think you.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Go ahead and try it right now and see what happens.
I probably would just do it once a month, if I could only get 20 at a time. I mean, what did I do? I mean, supposed to be doing 1099, 1099A. Oh, you see they got something in Spanish there too, so that's interesting. Okay, so 1099A, enter your search.
You might need to exit that out and just scroll down because I believe that they're there. Now exit that. Clear your 1099A from the box.
Oh, as usual. Okay, order tax forms.
And just okay, scroll down.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be more. Okay, down here. Form 56. Okay, now. And then there's the instructions. See that right here? That's the instructions for Form 56. Now, Form 56 is what you will need to file notice concerning fiduciary relationship for a financial institution. Now, when you become a private banker,
Okay.
and for your estate, you want to do one of those as well. So you can order the fiduciary forms. I want you to write down the forms that you're going to need in the future, guys, ladies. Keep on going till you find the 10.
Looks like they changed it. Last time I was on it, it didn't. It looks a little different.
It looks like like they don't even have that.
They keep switching stuff.
Yeah, well, how would you get them then if you can't order them in here? let me.
Do 1099 up on top on the other search bar, on the other one on top, on the very top. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I'm glad I put that in there because you guys might try it and not be able to get it. Okay, here we go. This is a PDF, right? Form 1099. Yeah. Instructions and there's the instructions here. Okay, so now, but this is not
like on those instructions, or the ones that I had told you that said that who must file.
Mhm. Okay, here we go. Now, are you finished? Are you finished saying what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if you download it, this is what the same thing that is happening. Okay, now you see where the line right here is blank. You could put the year in. I like this one better. You can type it if you have a typewriter. I went and bought a typewriter, but I make so many mistakes because I'm being so anal because I don't want to waste the form. But they have, you need a carbon paper if you're going to have a typewriter. You need carbon paper because you only want to type these one time. This part goes to the Treasury. The red one always does. Interesting, as I find that, writing in red. Then the part B is for the borrower, which would be Comcast or your electric company. That goes to them. Each one says the same exact thing. All right, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Now it says instructions for the borrower. Oh, okay. That's what you meant to read right there? Okay, I'm going to go back and read that later. So go back and read that because this is I was looking for the other day when I was trying to figure out how to help that individual I was speaking about earlier. This stupid mouse. Yeah, if somebody refuses to, I end up finding it in the UCC code. Okay, so then this is the part C, which is for the lender. That's your copy. Okay, so one thing, when you do these, if you do them by hand, make sure that you write really neat. If you don't have a typewriter, if you don't have a printer, you can go to the library, but be careful because they have unsecured internet, and you're putting in your social security number. But we use our EIN numbers now. And when you get your EIN number, that says, like I showed you guys before, that you are the executor over that all caps name, right? And so ideally what you're supposed to do is use that number going forward instead of using your social security number. And so when I do our 1099s now, I use the social security number. I use the existing lender would be Future Sound Energy. Okay, that's my, the lender would be my consulate, and his straw name, right? And then his EIN down here. And then you would go online. Now, say if you were going to pay Comcast, you'd have to go online and get the EIN number. So you want to go here and you want to put EIN number for Comcast or Xfinity, Xfinity in Washington State. Okay, so you want to make sure that you get the EIN number for your location because that's where you're going to be sending it to. And they usually come up, and let's see, it's okay, that's not it. Don't pay any money for it. They're free.
It usually comes up right there on that one, on that screen.
Yeah, okay, here it is.
There's one right there, yeah.
EIN, and then you see it has a dash just like our EIN numbers do. Okay, so some people, if you study with different Moors or nationals, will tell you, oh, you're not supposed to use their forms. Well, let me tell you something. What we're doing when we declare a nationality is staying in the private, right? Our names, our appellations that we choose are staying in the private. Ideally, I think I made a mistake by being misguided and put my new name in the driver's license, which I'm not mad about because it kept us from getting pulled over. It kept us from going to jail if we did get pulled over because I don't have traditional driver's license on my car, on my plates on my car. I have ones that I got off of Amazon. Okay, so I have the EIN number on the back plate, and it says EIN private EIN, and then it has the EIN number there. All right, now in the front I have a Morse American plate. All right, so you want to get the Comcast EIN number, and you can just highlight it right here. Now remember, there's a dash in the middle. So you can copy that and then come back over here. Now you have to set up this recipient, which I like, because every time when you come back, they'll just repopulate, you see? And so it'll repopulate every time. So then when you want to do a new one, maybe every month or for the year, if you could, I haven't done it for like this before. I worked for 2020 back. Right, do you have any counsel or advice on that as far as, can you do it from today for a whole year going forward? And you know why? I think the answer is yes, and you want to know why? Because when I was helping that client, they were demanded to pay her health care from 2023 to 2024. I mean, to accept a credit, which was the 1099 that she had done. Okay? So I guess the answer to that question is yes. So if you want to do that, you can do it on here because it only goes back to 2022. You want to go back and download it from IRS, wherever it went, right here in the PDF form. Okay. Now, I don't know if anybody has PDF.
I want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Can I ask a question regarding that? Because I'm kind of confused, although I should know this, but hearing you speak of it, if we wanted to go back 3 years, you're suggesting that we put in 2020 on there and then put the total for 3 years, or do one for each year?
No,
I can't hear you.
2021, for all the months, for 12 months, you add up those for 2021. Okay, and then you go back and you do 2020, and you add up for that whole year. And
so 1099 for each year.
1099 for each year. Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
So just look at that date where it starts and ends on your documents on your screen. Like you could log into Comcast, Xfinity, or the Puget Sound Energy or City Water Bill, create an account. You can go back and look at, even from the day that they start billing in the beginning of the year to the day where they stop billing, you know, the month and day they stop billing. And that should be 12 months. All right, so that day of lender's acquisition in that year, you're going to put that right here. This is 12/29/22. All right, and so then I put for that 12 months. And the only thing I don't like about it is that this doesn't have the current date that you're actually doing this, so you have to keep it. And then you're putting the same amount in box 2 and the same amount in box 4. Box 3 is blank. Description of property. Anything that you see here, just do it like that. Put your EIN number here or your Social Security number. If you're going to put your Social Security number, then you're going to write it with the dashes because it's not your exemption number. It is the straw man's your birth certificate number, like it is your Social Security card. It's the same as you would write it that way. Dash 0, 4 more digits. So it's very simple, and you can mail it. And when you get the paper copies from the IRS, you're going to get a form. And I probably have some in here. Let me look. I don't know if you're in here. There's so much stuff in this office. Let me go look on my other work table. I've got 2 work tables. Okay, so I got one. Poorly mangled by my typewriter. Which I'm really surprised because I type a lot, you know. Can you see that? Okay, so on each sheet, like say if you order 20, you're actually going to have 20 times 3, so you're going to have 60 because this is for one payer, this is for one payer, and this is another one. And so you send this red copy to the IRS, all right? And as you can see, I only have one good one out of there. You send the second, it's not, you can't see the carbon paper, but it's carbonated, so it's typed, it goes on to the second section. And the back one, all these on the back are for you. So the first section of the pages go to whoever you write it out that you're paying with this. Second copy goes to the borrower, okay? And yeah, I would suggest, I actually did better just handwriting it, you know. It's a typewriter that I got. I don't really, you can't, once you make a mistake on this, you can't go back and correct it like you're typing. You know what I mean? Like you can go back and erase it, but you can't do that on here, you know. So I'm just typing away like I do on a computer. Then I ruined so many of them, you know, that I don't even like to use the typewriter anymore. I'd rather, I read a couple out by hand. I was just very careful that I didn't make any mistakes. But this is what it looks like. There's 3 parts, okay? And there's 3 forms. And it says do not rip them apart. So make sure you don't rip them apart. So if you're going to send this in, then make sure you do 3 so you don't waste them. Make sure you do 3 different ones so that you don't waste the document. There's 3 on one paper, on one scan. Is there any more questions about this process? The 1099A? Okay, because it's 7 o'clock and we used up all of our time, and I will, you know, send you anything that we talked about in group. I will send you copies of those so that you can use them, and I'll probably ask you to not share these with anybody unless I'll probably black out like some of my numbers. I trust you guys, but I don't, you know, if you decide to share it with somebody, just make sure that you black out, you know, some of those numbers, like, or X, put an X over them or something. Yeah. So that's it for the 1099As. Also order 1096s. When you do it on tax 1099, for some reason you don't need the 1096, but when you do it by paper, you do. So you need to order a 1096, and you need to go, let me show you what that looks like real quick. It's not hard. Let me get out of here. Hopefully documents. And the 1040V. Okay, so you want to get 1099. 1090. Okay. And you can also look them up on IRS, you know, Form 1096. Okay, I don't know if you know it, but when you go on your computer, this File Explorer, you can search over here, right? And then you can hit this side blue arrow, and anything that's over here will open up, right? So you can open it up here. So anywhere there's a 1096, it'll open up there. All right, so this is a 1096. Let's see what that looks like. They're not hard to do. Like, these are probably the easiest ones out of all of them. and then there's instructions. Now these are Patrick Devine guided. This one is not a sample, so I should look for a sample. But this is it. You're going to put the filer's name, your address, name of person to be contacted, your EIN number or your social security number, total number of forms that you're submitting, federal income tax. We're not going to fill that part out. Only the total amount reported with this Form 1096. I think. Let me see if I can find the sample. Find the sample. No items. Okay, well sometimes you could type in a sample and we'll have some sample forms up here. But I do have some in my folder. Let me go get it. Okay, so what also will be helpful for you is when you can download the debt discharge package, because there's so many different samples in there of forms and how they should be filled out. Now, so I have a folder just with sample 1099, so you might want to get some folders, and always get the ones with the pockets inside so that you can section them off. I feel sorry for this folder. Okay, this is the 1099C. Okay. Patrick Devine's 1099s are unlike anybody else's, I could tell you that one. So this is a 1040V, okay. And this is a payment voucher. Okay, so and then the instructions are on top. But on this payment voucher, you want to put your name, and you want to send it to the Secretary of Treasury, the address, all right, and then you put the amount over on this side over here. Okay, so this one is a sample for $20,000, and this is a money order requesting $20,000. I think I'll try this one. Okay, so oh, look at this one we talked about before. No checks of $100 million or more are accepted. All right, so you can't do it for $100 million or more. Now this one says if you are sending $100 million, but we're not sending, we're requesting with this. Okay, this is a money order or a payment voucher, and we're into you. This is put in the name of the estate. It says up here, name of estate or trust on line 3. Okay, on line 1 it says employee EIN number. You put that there. Okay, your EIN. Then you will put the name of the estate here. All right. The name of the fiduciary, that says Janet Yellen, because you're telling her, making her fiduciary over this payment to you. All right, and then you're doing all that fun stuff. Now, then you're asking for $20. Some people put the Secretary of Treasury. Later on, Patrick Devine says never, ever, ever, make anyone but your real person or your natural living flesh and blood person your fiduciary. So you would put your all caps name. In that case, you would put there, and your fiduciary would be you in your proper person. Okay, so it would be just like it is written on on your form, and you become the executive of your estate. So there are so many different ways that you can use these, and I don't want to get you too excited, but when you do get your status corrected, and you get your. We'll do another tutorial, and we'll walk through the process of doing your estate again, or getting your EIN number for your estate again. It really doesn't take that long. We could do it together if you're all ready, and it'll take 15 minutes, maybe 20 at the most, since it'll be a group effort. And as a private banker, now this is something that I used for the first time last week, and this is a private banker's acceptance for value letter. Okay, so private banker's acceptance of enclosed presentment for value, return, and settlement. Okay, so when you become a private banker, then you're playing on the same level as the bankers are. Okay, and you have a right to carry a gun legally and lawfully. So, and then it gives you, you just put your name in here where it's read. Read it, study it first, read the codes, and then when you're done, you're going to send it to the person or a company who's sending you a bill normally, and then you're going to send it to all these addresses when you're done. And the numbers in red are the certified mailing numbers. So that's one of the benefits that you get when you are a private banker. It's like you're doing a business as a banker. You can go bank from the treasury, which I'm still learning to do. I think I'm just scared to do it by myself. I'm not really scared, but just maybe part of it is that I haven't gotten to it yet. And I did go to the bank, like Patrick Devine said, and try and do a special deposit, but the banker that was there that day was really young. He didn't know what I was trying to do. I was trying to get $25,000 off of my birth certificate. He said to bring it to the bank, but the guy that they had there was looked like he was like 20, 25 years old. He didn't know what he's doing, So later I was talking to another more, and they said that you should go ahead and prepare the document and send it by mail to the CFO, all right? And that is the best advice always, Here's a 1099 OID. Okay, so yeah, I started using this, but I didn't finish it because we're saying it'll tell you who's supposed to fill this out. To complete the 1099 OID, you look at the instructions. Foreign recipient. If the recipient is a non-resident alien, it says that on the back. You may have to withhold federal income taxes and file a 1042. So there's the directions and instructions on the back there, But ask, because they may not be applicable to the way that we're going to use them here. But this is a plain copy. This is not a sample. I know I have one that has a whole bunch of samples already filled out. But you'll get that. Okay, here they are. You get that when you download, and even more than what I can show you here. Okay, so this is a 1099A, and you can see the different uses of them. The top one for a mortgage payment, which is the same format that I use to discharge or to set off our debt, our mortgage, and it was $277,000. And then you put credit used on mortgage company, and you put the amount there, right? There's another sample. I think this is for auto loan. The second one is for auto loan. And they're all filled out the same, and they're so easy to do, and that's why I like them. But I don't want you to think, even the forms that you put with it are easy to do, so we'll talk about that part next week. So, and I'll show you real quick before we go. Oh wait, I wanted to show you. So hopefully I can find everyone. Like you were telling me, Patrick talks to get your money. Believe me, I listen to all of those things. But I think I'm like one of the only people that I know that has all of his files and forms. And so when I get ready to do it, I'm a little hesitant because I don't have anybody, doing it with me. But I do want to do it before you guys, start doing it, so I can say, hey, yeah, I did this and it worked, or this was the outcome, But let me give you a quick look, really quick, and When you stop having to pay these bills, you'll be, right now you might be worried about money or finances, right? But what if next month you can discharge, or set off is the correct word, because you're not discharging it, you're setting it off. It's a negotiable instrument, and you're negotiating it, and you're settling it using this document. Okay, so from bondage to freedom, I'm going to go up here to the store, and I don't know how many, if you actually looked at the products, but underneath the debt discharge and all the packages, here it is, you'll see exactly what is there, okay? So discharge debt, A for B, and 1099 samples and instructions. The only caveat is that these are older forms, but as you can see, they're exactly the same. This is a 2015. So make sure that the forms that you're using are current forms, okay? All right, so, and he writes little notes underneath them that explains how and why, you know, you can use them. So some of the forms that will be in here, debt discharge, UCC codes, and history of the process. See full list below. How to fill out the 1099A, 1099, and the OID. What does acceptance for value mean? All debt is prepaid. Acceptance for value, explanation. Acceptance for value proof, straw man defined, A for B stamp. And that would be something that you would put on your documents, and how to write that coupon out. And that would look like this. I don't know if I can make that bigger. Bigger. Yeah, one bigger. All right, so, oh, there it is. Okay, acceptance for value stamp. Now, this is how you would put in a 45-degree angle on your bill. And that's your exemption number. Your exemption number is your Social Security number without the dashes. Okay, so, and then you're going to put your straw man's name or your born name here in all capital letters. Okay, technically that should be in blue. I would put it in blue or black, but this is the stamp the way he gave it, and I just kept it that way. So when you use your Social Security number normally associated with the straw man, you're always going to use the dashes. But when you're saying, hey, this is my exemption number, you're not going to use the dashes, because the dashes make it commercial. And the exemption number is a Social Security number without the dashes, and that makes it private, okay, and exempt from levy. Some people say that when you put the amount in, that you should put it in negative value instead of just having a, for instance, $2,271, that you should put negative $2,071, because you're when you make it negative, it decreases the United States debt. You know how they say they're in debt, there's no more money and everything. You're increasing that, but when you put a minus sign in there, then you're not adding to the debt. You know, so they're subtracting it from the proper place instead of adding it to the debt. So these are all the forms that would be in here. The OID samples. Okay, 1099 OID proof. I know I skipped a lot, but you can go back and look. Blank vouchers. And these are all really good. If we have more time, I will show you some of them in the folder. Well, since you guys are all still here, I'll go show you a couple anyway. So you'll have examples to do anything, okay? This is, so you won't have to just come up here and say, oh, okay, now I want to do one for my car. Okay, now I want to do one to get, you know, some cash. How do I do that? How do I, you know, and so you have all these examples here for acquisition, 1099A for acquisition. Let's go look at that one real quick. Oh, where's my folder? Okay, so I'm in Patrick Divine File, so it should be right here. Or did it say for 1099A? Yeah. Oh, there it is. How do you spell acquisition? AC. Let's see. Okay. For acquisition template. Example. Now that's what I want. I want the example. Okay. So again, this is an older one. This is 2009. So he says read the instructions. You are the fiduciary. Again, you, not the treasury. Okay, when you make somebody the treasury, you're giving them power and they can, over your estate. Now, if you tell them, to give you money or do something, you don't know what they're going to do, So, like when you go to the hospital or you're sick or you go somewhere and they say, okay, I want you to sign this paper giving us permission to contact your doctor. Well, there's a window of time from the day that you sign it, and then maybe you give them 30 days. You make sure you always fill that out, because if you don't, they'll fill it out and leave it open-ended. So when you sign that document, you want to make sure that you make it for, or you can put until the information requested is received. So they can only have that authority to get information from that office or whoever they're trying to get information from about you until the information is received. Boom. So similar here, you as a fiduciary, because that's why you do the estate, EIN or the copyright form, right? And what I was hoping to get to also today, I'm trying to respect your time. I know it's later where you are, and we'll look at that next week. We'll start looking at some of the commercial agreements that you can utilize to put a lien on your own assets. Where's my email? All right, so I'll show you that real quick, and then we'll call it a night. And that would be a commercial security agreement. Now, this is part of a package that I haven't put up yet. This is how to do a security agreement in a simple, easy way, and the forms are not complicated, and it will also lead you into getting your UCC contract trust set up, where you, how many times am I getting done? Okay, where you actually be learning how to bank from the Treasury. But before you do that, you really need to do the things I'm saying each week, or the things that you've been hearing. If you need coaching, if you want to call me or email me and ask me for help doing that, just get it done, because everything with the CBD and everything is right around the corner. So this is a commercial security agreement similar to a UCC1. No, say got it. All right, now enable editing. I don't want to update now, and I want to make this bigger. Okay, so I'm going to make this bigger. Okay, this is a commercial security agreement, right? It's similar to a copyright of your name, and it's also similar to a UCC1. Okay, so this is an agreement between the secured party creditor, right, the debtor. It's an agreement between the debtor and you, the secured party, but you are actually both entities. You're not the debtor, but the debtor here, all right, who deems itself insecure, hereby grants secured party creditor a security interest in the collateral, property, and rights described generally herein, and specifically on but not limited to the enclosed attachment A property list. So the debtor is granting the secured party creditor a security interest, and so now after this is completed, filed, then you now have permission to operate as the fiduciary over all of the assets of the straw person or the straw man or straw woman person, all right? And you have a property list, like I might put our home, our vehicles, my business, name of my companies, my EIN numbers, my bank accounts, everything that I've ever signed, my marriage license, every song I ever wrote, every book I ever published, my publishing company, anything that you ever owned or want in that, you want to put that in your commercial security agreement, because I created it when I was a debtor, so I want to give all that to my secured party creditor, who is Freedom Imani Asha El. Okay, so Vivian Gale would give that to make me the fiduciary or the secure party creditor, all right? The debtor who deems itself insecure hereby grants secure party creditor a security interest in the collateral, property, and rights described generally herein, and specifically on the enclosed attachment A. So it's going to be described generally here, but then you're going to have an attachment which is going to list everything. Incorporated herein as if fully set forth with the commercial security agreement, herein referred to as collateral. This will secure all debtors' property. This is how you become a secure party creditor, right? According to this, right? And again, let me read that again. He who fails to assert his rights has none, right? So you have to let people know that you know, and you are stepping forth as the secure party creditor, and that you are no longer a debtor, all right? And you do this by making it official on paper. I remember one long time ago I was getting baptized, and I was like, well, why do I have to have a certificate? And whoever was giving me the Bible study, whatever, said, well, it's like you're getting married to God. And when you get baptized, you're telling the world that I belong to God. And so this is kind of the same way that I view this. Like, I know that I made a decision to give my life to God or Christ or Allah, you know, but now I'm making a public announcement, right, that I belong to God. Now with this, you're making a public declaration that you are the executor over your strong person's account. You are not fake, that you are alive, and that you are a living, okay, a living, sentient human being, and that you are not a United States corporate citizen, and that's what all of this is saying, okay? Secure party creditor signing by accommodation for the debtor when necessary, where the signature of the debtor will be required, okay? So now, your secure party creditor reserves the right to make sufficient claims to secure indebtedness until satisfied and whole. So you're going to be operating in the estate, everything in commerce, in the straw man's name, but you're going to be doing it as the executor. All right. So all of my business accounts are under Vivian Gale, but I'm operating them as the secure party creditor, autographing them as Freedom Imani L. All right, so you're going to learn how to operate in commerce by the analogy of a puppet and a puppeteer. You know, remember Pinocchio? And he's, you know, where you ever watch a puppet show when you were a kid, and then puppet is connected to strings. So you're going to be the real person operating the straw man in commerce, because you have to operate in commerce, right? Even all commerce is fictional. So in order to interact in commerce, you have to have a fictional character, which is like Pinocchio. All right, so that's the fake you. All right, so you're going to be operating now. Before, the corporation was operating your fake puppeteer person, but now you are coming and stepping in as the executor, as the fiduciary, as the puppet master. Okay, and that's what was a good analogy I want you to keep when you're doing this, so you remember that that's what is happening when you become a secure party, when you're doing UCC1 lien. And I'll email you guys this too, so you can read it. And if you guys, a couple of you were asking for a secure party process, this is the only one that I would ever give you. It's the only one that makes sense to me. It's not a lot of dogma. And you don't have to change any of the verbiage. All you have to do is you know, wherever you see the name here, you put by Vivian Gale Bennett. That was my born name, the debtor, right? Now I'm also autographing now as the secure party creditor, Freedom Imani Ash'il. Now this security agreement number here is my born name initials, Vivian Gale Bennett, my date of birth, 6/19. Well, I wasn't born in 1980, but you do the date of your 18th birthday. So I was born in 1962, so I'll add 18 years, because that's the age where we're supposed to have come to maturity to be able to, even though some people say 21, you count 18 years. So 1980 is when I graduated from high school. Yes, I'm getting old. And This is the commercial security agreement. And so that's the number that would be your commercial security agreement. And that's how you would create yours. It's pretty simple, right? All right, so this is where we are going to be moving into. This is part of a package. There's about 5 or 6 documents in the package, and they all look just like this. You have no excuse. If you don't do it soon, I'm kicking you out of the group. I'm only kidding. But I really want you to do this because it's so important. Now, right around the corner is coming the CBDC. Central Bank Digital Currency, right around the corner, is here in August, right? And if it happens in August, if it happens 2 or 3 months from now, but it's going to happen this year, where everybody's bank account is going to be confiscated by the government, and your account is going to be turned into a CBDC account, whether you like it or not, and they'll be able to control all of your spending and see everything you buy, and pretty much control your account. You won't be the trustee over that account anymore, which is why we're going to talk about liens too, and why you should put a lien on all your bank accounts and then put those documents in your trust. But you have to have a trust, because I can't take you into learning how to bank from the treasury out of your trust account until you do those things. And it looks like a lot, but you can only do one thing at a time anyway. So first thing to do is to correct your status. Okay. So has anybody been successful with correcting their status yet? That's the first step. Okay. So correct your status. Like I said, if you need help, email me. And we want to get ourselves prepared for the times that are coming ahead. 7:30. Thank you all for hanging in there, for joining me. Are there any questions before we go? Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, yes. Huh?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Did I interrupt someone?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I have a question. And it's, I mean, I think I already know, but I just wanted to ask you for clarification. So when you do the discharge, that can apply towards vehicles as well. Like if I have a car note and I want to discharge that debt, I can use that same process for that.
One thing you want to remember, and I'm going to write it real big so you never forget, right? And this is what I always want you to remember.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All debt to be paid goes for everything. Shoes,
right.
No, baby's diapers,
right.
baby. You know, because of the 1099s, you can only do it for anything over $600. So anything under that amount will be utilizing the A for fee process, acceptance for value process right now. And as I can continue to study the bills of exchange, I'll be able to ascertain how or what the amount is that we can utilize on the bills of exchange, which is sort of like a promissory note or a check that you would create yourself. And you can also use those for deposits or, withdrawals to get money from your account and have it deposited into your, I want to say bank account, but more specifically, you can use it to add funds to your trust. When you get your trust set up, you can use it to add funds to your trust. So, okay, I want to give you a glimpse of, like where we're going so that you'd be more encouraged to go ahead and get your stuff done and do it in a timely manner. But just keep working on it. You don't have to rush. You don't have to be nervous. You don't have to be scared. Just take it one step at a time. Just do it. Okay?
Okay, got it.
I'm going to put this in the file too. all paid, okay? And you have to operate in commerce, right? So what is the saying for that one that I like? Everything in commerce is fictional, okay? E-commerce, ECE is FICTION. Okay, everything in commerce is fictional. So those are the two things that you want to remember right now, okay? Right there. Everything in commerce. Does it spell commerce like U-M-E-R? No.
Yeah, I think there's like an extra letter in there somewhere. Commerce. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Okay. Oh, wait, I looked at C-O-M-E-R. Okay. So remember those two things. I'm going to save it and put it in the file folder. All right. So my consort is weekend begins tonight, so I'm going to go spend time with him and watch our favorite Bachelorette Monday night show. And I hope you guys, if you have any questions, you can always feel free to email me. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Do your work.
Okay, will do. Grand rising.
Grand risings, Ashe, and have a good evening. There's one more thing I want you to remember. He who fails to assert his rights has none. I picked that up last night, so I don't know where you guys are with that one. If you don't do it, you don't have any rights.
Right.
All right.
Right.
See you next week. If you have any questions, email me.
Okay, will do. See you next week.
Okay.